Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is a Legacy School Literacy lesson for Year 6, Week 7, Part 2. So in Part 1, we actually took an overview or a quick review of what autobiographies are and what autobiographical writing is. And we actually read the introduction to the autobiographies by Stephen Jared and another one by Helen Forrester. Today we're going to read the autobiography or a part of the autobiography by Stephen Jared and answer a few questions. So for this lesson, all you'll need is your Checkpoint 1 textbook from pages 25 to 27. So if you remember, we already read the introduction. You can go back to the first video to hear that introduction, or you can open up your book and read on page 25. We're going to move on to the beginning of the extract. Still now, I hate I hate Sunday nights. Still, it's impossible to blank out the memory of getting ready for school, a ritual torture that ruined the final moments of a glorious weekend. I think you guys feel the same way sometimes. According to the calendar most people use, a weekend lasts 2 days. Not at number 10 Ironside. Not with Mom. A weekend is a day and a half with her. She demanded we be home by 6 p.m. to be scrubbed, bathed, and ready for school the next morning. We ran in at 6, and the uniform was still there, on the ironing board, all pristine and pressed, glaring at us. Just seeing the uniform made me sick. That's his school uniform he's talking about. They resembled prison clothes after the freedom of the weekend. It was not that I hate school. I just loved my weekends roaming around Bluebell. Mom took school more seriously than Paul, my brother, and I ever did. A proud woman, she made sure our uniforms were absolutely spotless. She polished our shoes so hard you can see your grimacing face in them. So a grimace is like when you make an ugly face when you don't like something, or if you smell a bad smell, you know how you kind of squish your face up? That's what a grimace is. Poor Mom. She had her work cut out. If I left the house with a clean uniform, it was guaranteed to come home dirty. The same with shoes, scruffed and muddy. Every time, Mom went up the wall. All right, here, Mom went up the wall here is an expression. I want you to think about what that means. So she took her time and cleaned his clothes and make sure they were pressed and pristine, which means perfect. And his shoes were super shiny. And then he would come back with them all muddy and scruffed up. And that sent her up the walls. So think about what that means. And let's flip to page 26. My journey through the Maryside school system was straightforward and undistinguished. That means he wasn't particularly one of the best students, and he wasn't the worst either. He was just an average student. I looked on schools as fantastic playing fields with boring buildings attached. That means his main concern was the football pitch or playing football. My first stop was St. Michael's, which became Hoyton with Robbie Church of England Primary. Though only a short walk from Ironside, Mom still insisted on driving me to St. Mick's and picking me up. I enjoyed the infants and junior school, just messing about. When I was naughty, the teachers made me stand by the wall, looking at the bricks for 5 minutes as punishment. I never bullied anyone. I never hurt anyone or swore. I was just cheeky and mischievous. He liked to give his teachers a hard time. My crimes were petty ones. So petty means something that is not a big deal. My crimes were petty ones, answering back or going on muddy grass when we were told to stay on the yard. Usual kid stuff. School held limited appeal. That means school was not very appealing to him. He was not very interested in school. I sat in class longing for playtime because there was always a match on the playground. I loved dinner time because it lasted an hour, which meant a longer match. I abandoned hot dinners because they wasted precious minutes. Queuing for my meal, I'd shout, "Come on, there's a big game going on out there." Eventually, I asked my mother for packed lunches. "You should be on hot dinners," she screamed, "or come home if you don't like school food." We compromised on packed lunches. Sandwich, a bar of chocolate, a drink, and some fruit. The fruit always came home untouched. Apples, bananas, and oranges weren't me. Buddies, or sandwiches, weren't even me at that age. It would be bread off, meat out, quick bite, on with the game. So he wasn't a big fan of eating lunch. He just wanted to play. That's all he had on his mind. Mom didn't answer. Speed was vital at dinner time. I ate the packed lunch while playing or wolfed it down while running back into class. Same with my tea. If there was a match going on outside Ironside, a game of chase, or my mates were waiting for me, I slipped my food in my pocket, sprinted out of the door, threw the food in the neighbor's to the neighbor's dog, and raced to the match. I returned home starving, picking at biscuits, crisps, and chocolate. Back at St. Mick's, the teachers watched me scribbling away busily in my schoolbook. Steam almost rose from my pencil, I wrote so furiously. The teachers must have thought I was focusing really hard on the lesson. I'm sorry, I wasn't. Lessons were spent working out the teams for dinner time. In the back of my schoolbook, I wrote down the names. When the bell rang for break, I dashed out to organize all the boys and get the girls off the playground. You can watch, I tell them generously, but that's the pitch, and you can't go on it. It's so mean. The pitch was marked out with bags and tops for goals. They were right serious battles at St. Mick's. Wembley Cup finals have been less intense. My face still bears the trace of a scar collected in the playground after I collided with a fence. So he has a scar on his face that he got from hitting his head onto a fence, tussling for the ball, while he was, of course, trying to get the ball. Defeat was unthinkable. So he'd rather actually get injured than get defeated in a game. So I think this was a pretty interesting extract from his autobiography. Let's move on to some questions on page 27. All right, it says, answer these questions about extract 1. You can either write down your response or talk them through with your teacher or partner. But since your teacher isn't there, I'm going to need you guys to write these down in your literacy copybook, please. Don't forget to write the date and label your page. Unit 2, Exercise 1, Steve and Jared. All right, and don't forget to number your questions as well. Number 1, why did Steve and Jared hate Sunday nights? Number 2, why does he say to his mother that a weekend was only a day and a half? Number 3, what is meant by Mom went up the wall, and what did Stephen do to make it happen? Remember, we talked about this. Number 4, give the meaning of each of the following words as it was used in the passage. So I want you to go back into the passage, find the words. You can look it up in a dictionary, but I also want you to find the meaning from the context, from the way it was used in the text. Grimacing, guaranteed, undistinguished, petty, compromised. Number 5, explain using your own words how Stephen looked at the school he attended. Number 5, let me explain that. So, what was school to him? How did he look at school? Was school important? Was it unimportant? How did he see school? Or what was the significance or the importance of school to him? They gave us a very specific description in the text. Number 6, choose 3 details from the passage that shows that Stephen was fanatical about football and explain how the examples you have chosen show this. So I think there are plenty of examples in the text. So go ahead and find the 3 most interesting to you. And number 7, imagine that you are a head teacher at Stephen's primary school. Using what you've learned about him from this passage, write his school report. You should write 2 or 3 paragraphs. All right, so that is our lesson for today, and I can't wait to see your work. Good luck.